Hi, come on in. Join the conversation with Mothers Raising Teachers.
But, you know, and the boys were very surprised that I was going anywhere without them, and also without Daddy. And that just had, you know, didn't make any sense to them.
I haven't done that yet. Is that exciting?
I think that's
I
so
don't
good
know.
for them to
Yeah.
see you do
Yeah.
that. It's good for them to see you do that, though.
You do that all the time.
I take a different stance in that I have loved my babies since they were 9 weeks to do anything and everything, and I always have. And, you know, I don't know if it's, my kids adjust quite easily, but I've always loved them. I've gone on, you know, every year, probably 4 or 5 times a year, I leave them. And I do numerous things. I go out at least every week, but I just literally, when I had kids, I felt this depression set over me, like I will not lose myself, and I haven't.
That's good.
I sort of feel like I don't fit into the conversation from that standpoint. And my husband and I go out a lot. We travel we've done, you know, not a lot of exotic vacations, but enough that we get away frequently.
But I think you're doing it the right way, and I think that it's hard for most people to do that. You know, we're talking about going to France to visit family, and my husband's being so wishy-washy about it. What's the problem? You know, well, I don't know. I don't want to leave the kids. I'm not going to be traumatized. You know, it's going to be fun.
It'll be happier in your house when you're happy with your spouse.
Right.
And I think that's one thing that we have to recognize, that if we are happy with our own life and we're not resenting our kids, then we're going to have better relationships.
I think kids do better when mom isn't in their face all the time. It gets back to the helicopter parenting. I even just read an article how they would be better off with dad instead of mom. And to some extent, I agree. If you watch a dad, the basics are met, but a lot isn't fretted about. And they do fine.
Right.
We fret over everything unnecessarily.
Right.
And I think we have lost who we are as women, because we're going to have somebody in our lives for 18 years, in our home for 18 years. I think there's this real balance of, there's, you know, like in our family, we have 2 kids, so there's 4 individuals and a family. But I just can't handle melding with the kids to the point where they are not their own person, nor am I my own.
You know, I have the flip side. I totally understand and appreciate it, and I think that's probably an incredibly healthy way to go. I wasn't supposed to be able to have kids, and I didn't have them until I was 33. So it was like I did all my fun, did all my individual stuff, and it's like now I have them, and they're so amazing. I don't really want to be anywhere else.
Well, then,
you know, I don't like, oh, I need a break from my kids, because like I've been waiting for them forever, and I'm so happy. But I can totally understand the other flip side too. You probably have older kids.
No, I had my oldest, my first, when I was almost 30.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it's just, I think, more maybe my vision of how it was going to work.
Yeah.
Who watches them?
I hire, I've always had a sitter in my home, because I've never had family, and so I've always hired somebody, and the first thing I've done is find a sitter. And I tell my kids, the reason I have, like this time I have Casey, she's been with us 2.5 years, is because mommy and daddy need to go out, but I want one person there that we can count on, that loves you. Oh, okay. It makes them feel incredibly secure, but it also provides me with a great deal of freedom.
And you don't have any family in town or anything?
No, I'm in your same situation.
Right, me too.
It's
Yeah.
difficult,
But I use the heck out of her. I mean, all the time. And she's there when I'm there, and it becomes I've always said a troika. I've always raised my kids in a troika situation. My husband being a sitter. Because I've never had family, and it works.
What kind of personality do you have, though? Do you have, see, I'm more of a controlling person when it comes to my children, and so even if I could afford, which I can't actually afford to get a sitter, I've seen too many things that make me scared to leave them with a sitter, because I want things done a certain way, and it just frightens me.
I guess I feel like driving my kids down the street is more detrimental to their health than the way somebody makes a bottle. They could get hit by a car, and that would be the ultimate terrible thing. So I'm controlling in that I want, I want TV limited, I want them to have a lot of friends over and do all the right things, get their homework done, they have chores. But I'm not controlling in terms of wanting to know their every move. And
How do you ensure it's done the way you want it done?
You give up. You give up. You have to agree that it's going to be good enough. And I'm okay with that. Because
I think you need to know your sitter. I mean, like you said,
you know your sitter, but you give up. You
Sure.
you have to
You have
agree.
to trust them.
You have to delegate and trust that it's going to be good enough.
Right.
And
I don't even trust myself.
I know.
I mean, I lose control of my own kids, and I love them.
at the end of the
I can't
day,
imagine
you
what's
just have to
better for
hope
my
that it
kids.
works out right. And I guess I look around and I see people that have been parented in all kinds of situations, and I've never met somebody who isn't flawed. So I figure this is going to turn out just fine because it's all on the spectrum of normal.
Right.
It just has to be because.
My kids love it when the sitter comes. And
I
it's
know.
not because she lets them swing from the rafters. I mean, I purposely have her come over whenever possible, even an hour before it's time for us to leave. So I'm upstairs getting ready, I
Yeah.
can hear what's going on. And I love her because I hear her, they're eating dinner, and I hear her saying exactly what I would say. Aiden, sit down. Aiden, take a bite. Come on now. Don't hit your brother. But yet she's very loving with them. She brings books. She brings crafts. So I've gotten to know her well enough where I would trust her even going away a few days. And I think if you get a good recommendation from someone else, for me that's how we've always done it. I would probably be nervous if I just looked in the paper. I'm not saying I wouldn't do it, but I like knowing from someone else, oh, she's reliable,
And also, for me, working from home, I have the opportunity to be in my office doing some work and having the babysitter run around with the kids. And so it's really a good situation. So if you're thinking of venturing into the world of getting a babysitter or a mother's helper, that is a great way to do it, so that you're really taking, you hire someone to come over, I don't know, 2 hours for 3 days a week. So you're paying a little bit less because you're there, and it's probably a neighborhood girl who could be a bit younger, but really she's just helping you out. And maybe she's in making them lunch, maybe it's during that lunchtime, or whatever you want to do. Something that's sort of easy and structured for her, so that you can do the laundry without having a child attached to you.
I guess there's
That
no
would be
more
kind of
comfortable with
nice.
them being in the house, but I
Yeah.
can tell you, I struggle to manage 3 children. And like I said, I love them, and I know the routine, and I can't imagine giving that responsibility wholly over to a 12-year-old.
Well, because
But you're
you
thinking
no,
it's
no,
so
no,
many.
no,
Right.
I
I
hire
wouldn't do a
30-year-olds.
12-year-old.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a whole different ballgame.
I hire full-grown adult women.
Yeah. That's a
No,
whole
they're
different thing.
they've all been to college. No,
Oh.
no.
Because I was
No.
babysitting when I was that young, and I could, I mean,
No.
No, I wouldn't
Heaven.
trust somebody like
Yeah.
that.
But
I think you said
a
at
12 or a
least 2, but-
14-year-old could be a
Great
mother's
house
helper.
helper.
Yes.
Yes.
And actually, the good thing about that is, in fact, my neighbor she comes over and she helps me out, and she's 14. And so she's the perfect person to sort of train into babysitting, so that when I actually come, she's very trustworthy, she's a wonderful young woman, and I would definitely not hesitate to leave the boys with her at this point, provided perhaps like 2 of them are in bed and 2 of them are up. I don't think I would leave her with all 4, because, so she's perfect for really helping me out,
Yeah.
because then I can monitor her.
Plus, you're not asking them to raise your child. That's your job. They're there just for a few hours. You give them your guidelines, and within that framework,
Yeah.
they can handle.
Does anybody find grandparents to babysit differently than the babysitter?
Oh yeah.